Welcome back to Talk the Walk with me. I'm Winna Wong. We're back discussing the recent uptick in cases of Hongkongers getting scammed to Southeast Asian countries, where they are held captive, abused, and forced into hard labor. We've been speaking with Joy, who's a human trafficking specialist for the Global Anti-Scam Organization. So Joy, earlier we were talking about how these syndicates have been looking for people who speak Mandarin, which brings me to the question, why are they looking for Chinese people in particular?
Because the scam compound bosses are from China, they speak primarily Mandarin, so they need to, get people who understand the Chinese language. And a lot of the scripts and stuff like that is actually in Mandarin, although we do see that, when they speak to Americans and Europeans and people like that, they use like translation software. Yeah. So basically, because the bosses themselves only can speak Mandarin or converse in Mandarin, and most of the communications is in Mandarin, so they need Mandarin-speaking people.
But what kind of work are they doing that requires them to be able to speak Mandarin?
Basically, so basically when they are there, when they are taught what to do, when they are taught how to get things done, is all primarily in Mandarin. That's why they need them to be able to speak Mandarin, and instructions are always given in Mandarin. So they need to be able to understand and read Mandarin. That's the reason why they are getting people who can speak Mandarin there. And increasingly, of course, they look for people from Taiwan and Hong Kong because due to COVID, people can't get out. And, Hong Kong people, I think, are first in English. That's why they get them in to help put on the scripts, to be translator, to make sure that things on their website looks good. I mean, if you were to compare like scam websites about a year ago versus like right now, the English grammar, the way it's worded, it is not like before. It is way better now in English. So that's why they're able to, scam more people in America, in Europe. Yeah, even if they're not like Chinese people, I mean, like ethnically Chinese people, they are able to target Caucasians right now. Yeah, they used to be targeting like Chinese or Taiwanese or Hong Kongers or Singaporeans or Malaysian who can speak Mandarin, but right now they're changing their scripts into English. They're able to type English. They're able to speak English. Yeah.
I want to take a deeper dive into what happens after people are held captive. We keep hearing about this very terrifying and mysterious place called the KK compound, or some people call it KK Park. Can you tell us, where is it exactly? What happens there? And, why are people brought there?
Okay, for KK Park, this is a compound which is actually in the south of Myanmar. Basically, it's like it's just like a river across from Thailand borders, and because of a lot of stuff that's going on in Cambodia and things like that, so they mask it by telling people that, oh, you will be working in Thailand. That's how they bring people over, and from when they reach Bangkok, they actually transport them to a place called Mesot in Thailand, and then from there they smuggle them into Myanmar. And KK is not the only compound over there. There are like at least 10, 20 other compounds that is over there as well. For KK, it's like a half an hour ride away from the customs per se, and it's one of the bigger compounds right there. Yeah.
Can you perhaps run us through the process of how people are brought there and what exactly happens after they arrive? What kind of work are they forced to do, and what kind of conditions do they face?
Basically, like when you arrive in Thailand, in Bangkok, they bring you to a hotel first. You stay at a hotel. Somebody will actually bring you up to Mesot after that, within a day or two. Then you'll be smuggled to Myanmar. And then from Myanmar, depending on the company and depending on the time that you reach the place, then they will actually transport you to KK Park. So when you're in KK, right now, I think the procedure which one of my informants told me is actually before you enter a park, they ask you to sign an agreement to say that you are going to this place to work, right? Then after that, because there are so many companies within the scam compound, it's not just one company. And for KK Park itself, they have about 7,000 to 8,000 people in there. So the moment they go there, they go into the company will give them an orientation. They'll be told like, okay, you're actually here to do scam work. You're not here to do whatever is promised to you. And they run through with them. So they will be told like, this will be your working hours. So it depends on which market that they are being assigned to work on, or the company is working on. Then they do the assignment, and then they tell you like, okay, probably your work hours. If you're working on a European market per se, then it'll be like from 11 o'clock till 12 o'clock the next day, stuff like that. So they are working like 12-hour shift. And then, of course, performance will be based on the amount you scam. So when they initially go there, they probably start off as the very junior level, whereby you go on social media and you start adding people on. So they have a daily target of how many people you have to add on social media, and how many people you need to get their contact numbers for you to be closer to, and that brings you to a higher close rate to actually scam their money. Yeah. So yeah.
And what happens if they don't comply, or they say, I don't want to do this, I want to go home?
Okay, for some companies, they allow you to say, okay, if you really do not want to do this, you have to pay, right? You have to pay because in the process of recruiting them, your etiquettes, in the middle, there's middlemen who do the introduction, the fares for bringing you over, smuggling over to Myanmar and stuff like that. They ask you to pay a ransom. This normally works out to be about 10,000 USD, thereabouts. That's one option they give. But however, we do have cases whereby they pay this amount and they get sold off to other compounds. Then the other way is like, if you have no amount to pay, then you have no choice. You'll be forced to work in a company, and they will actually make you work. And if not, I mean, if you're reluctant, of course, they come with the threats to say that they will hit you. They'll do some punishment and stuff like that. And coming from a developed country to suddenly you're being placed into such an environment, you get very scared, and you start to comply. You have to comply because nobody wants to be beaten up. Yeah.
So of all of the cases that you have dealt with, is there any particular one that has really stuck with you? Somebody who has told stories of being abused, or what is the worst situation that one of your cases has faced?
I think a lot of times is how ridiculous it gets, especially when they are paying money, and after with the so-called ransom that they have to pay. I mean, I've run across a case whereby they said, okay, if you pay $10,000 or $12,000. I mean, this particular case is like he was told that he has to pay like $12,000, and which he managed to get his family to raise the money and pay. Then after that, he said, okay, before I let you go, I want you to bring in 2 other people into the compound. And he tried to do that, and then after that, he couldn't get anybody. So he said, sorry, because you did not fulfill your promise of bringing 2 other people in. You have to stay for another month. And right now, instead of 2 people, I want you to bring in 5 people. And that ransom amount keep increasing. And ultimately, it's like when he doesn't hit his target, he got beaten up. It's like they grab anything on hand. It doesn't have to be what we see like a taser or anything that's like super common. They can even so my victim was like burnt with cigarettes. He was lashed with mobile phone charging cable, and he couldn't get out. And along the way, there were cases that I heard from this particular person that there was lady that was being brought to the park. So again, the family paid off, but before that, he actually raped the girl. I mean, the supervisor actually raped the girl and tried to sell her off after getting the money. So it's like something very unimaginable. and it's like super duper ridiculous. And the moment they pay, they get sold off to another compound, and it's another debt that they have to pay when they go over. Yeah, it becomes double. It becomes like 20,000. It becomes like 30,000, and I mean the amount is really like insane to us, but this is actually happening. Yeah.
Do you have any tips for people who find themselves, okay, we have arrived in Myanmar or maybe Cambodia, and they find themselves scammed? Do you have any tips for people who find themselves in these situations?
I think first of all, they have to keep calm, and a lot of times their private mobile phones and all that is actually being taken away from them. So they actually use the company's resources, which is the company phones and stuff. We tell them that, when you want to seek help and stuff like that, you have to be really careful. Let the family know, let the family contact the authorities first, and try to find ways, and then probably try to get in touch with us or any other organizations that can help to get their information out. And it's like, not try to go and speak to everybody around you, because you really wouldn't know like who can be trusted, especially if you're in a compound. I mean, you have to be very smart about it. You need to find your own way out, and nobody in a compound can be trusted, because we have experienced people whereby they want to get out. They tell people they want to get out, and then they end up being sold out by the people that they trust. And the next thing that comes, of course, is punishment. They get beaten up. They get dragged into the small little torture rooms that we call it. I mean, in Mandarin, we call it the Xiao Hei Wu. And if you're talking about in Myanmar, it's actually the army station. And that's where they get beaten up, and they get tortured. They get handcuffed. They are hanged. They are all sorts of horrible things that you can think of. Yeah, happens to them.
Well, thank you so much, Joy, for talking with us today. That's all for this week's Talk the Walk. See you same time next week.